Let's start with the prayers. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Kṣetrajña Vibhaga Yogaha is the title of the chapter number 13. I gave an introduction to this chapter last week, and I said this is one of the most important chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. If you have a very keen desire to know the core of your personality, if this question has come to you, who am I and what is this world, then this chapter will have a very great significance for you. Bhagavad Gita is a guide for our life. In our life, we face different types of problems, emotional problems, physical problems, intellectual problems. Physical problems we are not able to solve because that is a part of nature. Emotional problems and intellectual problems are in our hands. There is a way we can come out of these two problems. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita study till the 12th chapter, we have seen both the aspects of the Gita being taught. How I can develop myself and lead a good life, which is called as Yoga Shastra, and how can I know myself in my true nature. An analysis, an inquiry was made in the first 6 chapters about myself. A similar inquiry was made about the world around us from chapter 7 to 12. In this chapter, from this chapter onwards, we are going to see what is the common aspect between me, the individual, and the entire world. That revelation of the common aspect is called as the revelation of Kṣetrajña. Kṣetrajña means the knower. The knower in us, the consciousness or the awareness principle in us. If you all remember the Tattvabodha definition of Atma, it says very clearly, I am not the 3 bodies, which is the gross body, subtle body, causal body. It says very clearly, I am not the 5 koshas, Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha. It says, I am not the 3 states of consciousness, the 3 states of the mind, waking, dream, and sleep. And who am I? I am Sat Chit Ananda. This is the basic definition given to a spiritual student right at the beginning in the first lesson by the Guru. So Shankaracharya's beautiful book of Tattvabodha is the basic text. That definition is now going to be analyzed threadbare in the 13th chapter. So we need to have the qualifications which were mentioned there. Viveka. Viveka means what is Atma, the Satchit Atma, and what is Anatma, the body, sense organs, mind, and the world. That is called as Viveka Shakti. This Viveka Shakti is built up by values in our life. Creating the values in our life, we build the Shakti in our own mind. As we listen to the Bhagavad Gita, we get the knowledge of the Atma. So it is a two-pronged approach. One way we create the qualifications, the eligibility to get the knowledge, to be ready to receive the knowledge, which is purely the preparation of the mind. On the other hand, the second side is we keep on learning the Bhagavad Gita with a view to understand the Atma. So throughout the 18 chapters, this is the goal of a spiritual student. Throughout the study, not only the Bhagavad Gita, after this we will be doing the Upanishads. There also the focus is going to be more on the Atma. In this chapter, one of the values which has been pointed out is Vairagyam. Vairagyam, we have seen Viveka, the discrimination between the real and the unreal. Atma is the real, Anatma is the unreal. Vairagyam is the second major qualification. When we say Vairagyam, it simply means control of the sense organs and the control of the mind. Why do we need to do this control? Because I want to go deeper into my own mind and realize what is behind the mind. So Vairagyam is not just wearing a saffron clothes, but it is it's a conscious development of the human mind by control of the senses and control of the mind. There are a lot of practices which are given for the preparation of the mind. The japa is there, we have the pujas, we have different tirtha yatra, so many things are there. But all that you must remember, what is the goal? The goal is preparation of the mind, purification of the mind. Mumukshutvam is a desire. Among the four Purusharthas, Mumukshutvam is the desire to realize the nature of mind which is not affected by time. I have a keen desire. Then you are called as a mumukshu. Sadhana chatushtaya sampanna is the values. So with these four Ds, desire, discrimination, dispassion, discipline, we are now ready for the 13th chapter. In this chapter, we will see 6 terms being used. We will see the first verse itself now, and here you will see the question asked by Arjuna. Arjuna huvacha prakritim purusham chaiva Kṣetrajña cha etat yo veditum ichchami jnanam jneyam cha Keshava. So Arjuna is now asking Lord Krishna three pairs of questions. What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? Whenever we analyze the world at large, we must know these two terms. So this analysis of Prakriti and Purusha is an analysis of Paramatma, who is the controller of the entire universe. There is some principle which I can't see, I don't know, but it is there. Prakriti means the matter aspect of that Purusha, which is seen by us as the world. Entire world. Here, when I say world, we must put our own body into the world, our own mind also into the world, and then understand what is Prakriti, what is Purusha. So Purusha means the knowing principle. There is a knowing principle, awareness principle, consciousness principle, which is aware of the whole cosmos. To that principle, we give a name. We can call it Ishvara, we can call it Allah, we can call it Buddha, we can call it Jesus, we can call it anything, but that is the ultimate principle. The spiritual principle behind the whole cosmos. The second pair is called a Kṣetra and Kṣetrajña. When you come to Kṣetra and Kṣetrajña, you are now coming at the individual level. You are trying to understand, who am I in my core personality? I can see the body. I know my mind, but body and mind is not my total self. Behind this body, behind this mind, there is a knowing principle. Each one of us know the body. Body is only a conglomerate of the five elements. If you analyze the body deeply, it is just made up of parts, bones, blood, skin, different organs. They're all put together. And if you analyze that further, they are all constituted of the five elements. The five elements by themselves are not knowing themselves. They are inert in nature. So the body is inert. There is a consciousness. That consciousness principle is eternal principle. It is in this consciousness principle we conduct our life through and perform all types of actions. There is a light. So that is called the knowing principle, which is called a Kṣetrajña. This Kṣetrajña is at the individual level. Purusha is at the total level. The same knowing principle, when you understand it with reference to the whole universe, we call it Purusha. Then there are two other terms, Jnanam and Jneyam. Jnanam means, in this particular chapter, it means knowledge or values. Values which we need to develop so that we can know the Jneyam. Jneyam means the object of our study. What ought to be known, which is again consciousness, which is again the awareness principle. So if you take the three pairs, Purusha, Kṣetrajña and Jneyam, they are all referring to one principle, the pure being. The matter principle consisting of 5 elements is Prakriti and Kṣetram. Jnanam means the values which I develop in order to know the Kṣetrajña or the Purusha. So the goal of all spiritual practices, whether you are aware of it or you are not aware of it, when you come to study the Bhagavad Gita, the goal is to understand the core of our nature, the pure awareness principle. When we take the Shiva and Shakti, Shakti refers to the matter, Kṣetram, Prakriti. When you talk about the Shiva, the auspicious, which is the one principle behind the entire cosmos, is the Kṣetrajña, is the Purusha, is this pure awareness. We will next go to the second verse. What is this Kṣetram and what is this Kṣetrajña? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha idam shariram kaunteya Kṣetram ityabhidhiyate etatyo vetitum prahuhu Kṣetrajñam iti tatvidaha. Straight away, Bhagavan answers the question of Arjuna. And what is his first reply? He says, this body, idam, idam means this. Shariram, this body is Kṣetram. Whenever we talk of the body, again go back to Tattvabodha, 3 bodies, gross body, subtle body, causal body. So Kṣetram refers to all the thoughts which we have. Shiryamanat swabhavaha. Shiryamana means which decays. The body decays, the cells in the body decays, therefore it is called as Shariram. So the body is decaying every day right from birth to death. Idam means objectified. We see this body something other than me. Whatever we see other than me, the consciousness is called as Kṣetra. The field, why is it called Kṣetram? Kṣetram also means the field. It is the field of experience because it gives us the fruit of all our actions, which is called as karma phalam. The causal body, the karana shariram, is the cause for our birth. The impressions which we have gathered throughout our previous lives exist in the form of karana shariram. It cannot be seen by the human eye, but it exists. This is what the scriptures tell us. That when I say I am the individual living in this body, it means this individual has got desires to fulfill. Can be all types of desires. When we fulfill the desires, we have joy or sorrow. Sometimes we get happiness, sometimes we are not happy. Again, we take another body, again we go through the same cycle. So if you analyze our whole life is only actions leading to joy and sorrow. That's all. The 4 Purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, the three Purusharthas are basically nothing else but actions. The Moksha Purushartha is also an action, but it is that Purushartha which takes us out of this cycle of birth and death. So body is called as Karya Karana Sanghata. It is a Sanghata means it is a connection between the Karanam and the Karya. The Karanam is the Punya Papam lying in our account. The Karyam is the body. Complex. Sanghata means body, mind, complex. Karana also means the instruments. Now this body is not an independent principle. It survives based on the prana Shakti. And beyond this prana Shakti is this consciousness principle. We cannot see this, but it exists. That is how we understand that this body is perishable, but consciousness behind this body, the seeing principle, is not. Because this body is not seen in our sleep state, but the consciousness is still there, we say that it is a dependent principle. Body depends on consciousness to be known. Body is drishyam. Anything which is seen or heard is inert. The sound, the taste, the touch, all this is inert principles, but it is backed by the knowingness, the consciousness. The knowingness, when I see someone, it is the eyes which are going and having a perception of the object. But what is behind the eyes is the mind, and behind the mind is this consciousness, the sentient principle. In the Kṣetram, in the field, we see a variety of things and beings. Variety, varied, anekam. And it is sagunam. Saguna means it is with gunas, with attributes, with properties. Anything you take in creation, be it a flower, it is a red flower, it's a white rose, there are so many attributes to that. There is only one thing which is attribute-less, which is this consciousness. Anything in creation is sakara. Sakara means with form, with color, with form, with a name. Nama Rupa, functions. These are all related to the Kṣetra. The Kṣetrajña is a sentient consciousness principle. When somebody pinches you or touches you, you are aware. That awareness is called as sentiency. When I touch the table is not aware because it doesn't have sentiency, it doesn't have a mind. I have a mind, I am sentient. So consciousness expresses through the mind, and through the mind, it goes through the sense organs to perceive the world. Whenever we refer to aham, the word I, it means it can refer to the body, mind, or it can refer to the consciousness, the self, the knower of the field. One very important fact we should note about this observing principle is it is a self-evident principle, self-effulgent principle. Even when the body and mind have gone to sleep, this consciousness is existing. It is aware that the mind has gone to sleep. It is aware of the condition of the mind. We all say we just went to sleep, but then we don't realize that we exist in our sleep state as this pure consciousness. That is what is revealed in this 13th chapter. Jyotisham api jyotihi. The light of all the lights means the light by which we know our body itself. We know our thoughts itself. Right from morning to night, we are constantly bombarded with our thoughts about the world, about our body, about the world. We have to do so many things in life. These thoughts are the instruments by which we perform actions. It's the thought which directs the sense organs to act. I want to attend the class is a thought. Then, through the organs of action, we listen to the class. So it's a thought, and the content of the thought is consciousness, the knowing principle. There's only one knowing principle behind all the five sense organs and behind the mind. Only one knowing principle. It's very, very beautifully coordinated. This creation which we see is a wonder. It's a great wonder of the world. The body itself is a great wonder. You look inside what happens to this body and the mind, it's a great wonder. This consciousness is also called as Satyam. Satyam means it is independently existing principle. These are all technical terms. You see, when we learn the Bhagavad Gita, we must learn with some technical knowledge of the terms which are used in the Bhagavad Gita. For example, Kṣetram is a technical word. Kṣetrajña is a technical word. So what these words mean, suppose you just learn the Bhagavad Gita and then you just learn the word meaning and you read the sentence, knowledge of the field, the knower, and then you just try to understand the Bhagavad Gita, you will not go anywhere. You have to go a little bit deeper and analyze. And that analysis is done by Vedanta. It is this body of knowledge which has analyzed the Upanishads. Vedanta is nothing else but the end of the Upanishads. The end portion of the Veda is called as the Upanishads. Veda Antaha. And what we are doing is, there is a body which analyzes it. That is what we study in Tattvabodha, the principles. So if you don't know the principles, you will get totally lost. You will not reach what the Bhagavad Gita wants to reveal to us. That will come to us when we go into the depth of these technical terms. If you don't understand, you can ask the questions at the end of the class. I will again go back and explain to you in different ways, but you must be very clear what this consciousness is and how I can know it in my own self. Consciousness is also called as Drik. Drik means the seer. It also means the taster, the toucher, the feeler. It is the sentient principle. Ekam. Ekam is a word which is used for consciousness. There are no two consciousness. There is only one consciousness in this whole universe. Very important principle. These are the ways in which once we know each of these meanings of how to approach, how to know this consciousness, these are the ways. We must know it is a non-dual principle. Non-dual means it is not, there are no two consciousness, there's only one consciousness, and it is nirgunam. Nirguna means what? It doesn't have any gunas. Kṣetram has got gunas. The knower of the field has no guna. It is pure in its form. It's called as formless, nir-akara. There is no form to this Kṣetrajña or the awareness principle. So the shariram, as I said, is the gross body, which is the physical body. It's experienced clearly by us in the waking state of the mind only. This body, this world, you must understand, is experienced in the waking state. The subtle body, the mind, is clearly visible or is experienced in the dream state. And in the sleep state, we experience ignorance. That ignorance is called as karanam, karana shariram. In Mandukya Upanishad, it says very clearly that karana shariram, that ignorance of the nature of Atma, that ignorance is the cause for the projection of this gross body and subtle body. This is how the creation, the structure of the creation is. Shankaracharya beautifully presents this in the Tattva Bodha itself. He says this is the cause. There is a causal body which is the cause of this entire waking world and the dream world. All our memories are all in the seed form, in the form of vasanas. The whole banyan tree which you see, which we'll see it in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the whole banyan tree is available in the seed, but in what form? It's available in the causal form, unmanifest form, potential form. And that form is called as the sleep state. That is called as the causal body. Many people have a confusion. What is this causal body? They can easily understand the gross body. Yes, they can see it. It's visible to everybody. The subtle body, yes, a little bit difficult, but once some explanations are given, because subtle body is nothing else but emotions, anger, desire, passion, love, hatred, jealousy. These are all the emotions in our mind. Thoughts, knowledge, ignorance. These are all in the intellect. So the subtle body also one can know. But the causal body is only known through the Veda. It is the Veda which talks about the causal body. It talks about this Karana Shariram. And it says the individual is this Karana Shariram. This Karana Shariram takes several births and it is trying to realize its nature. The moment it realizes that it is not the Karana Shariram, but it is the Atma, which is beyond the Karana Shariram, then what the scripture says, this Karana Shariram will not have another birth. That is called as moksha. That is called as videha mukti. Jivan mukti can be experienced by us while living in the world itself. Suppose I also try to realize this Atma through the scriptures. There will be a time when my own mind and intellect will tell me that this is what you are, this is what I am. It takes time, but a day will come when you yourself will be convinced that I am that pure awareness principle. Then what happens is you can lead the life as a free, conscious being. This one conscious, pure being is called as this Purusha, is called as this Kṣetrajña. It's just a conscious being. It says in this being, the entire three states are coming and going, coming and going. We are not aware of this pure being in us. But the Veda, the Bhagavad Gita reveals to us. You will see how it reveals in this chapter. Beautiful way, Lord reveals this nature of consciousness. So the sleep state is called as the potential condition, unmanifest condition of the waking and the dream. And what lies beyond this unmanifest condition is Kṣetrajña. That is what is being explained here. So the Karanam is the causal body, the sleep state. Karyam, the product, the effect, is the subtle and the gross body or the waking and dream. For example, we say clay is the Karanam for a pot. Pot is an effect. Pot exists in clay. Everything inside the pot, the weight of the pot is the weight of clay. If you break the pot, it is nothing else but clay. So similarly, the body, the gross body and the mind, what happens to the gross body and mind is it goes back to its cause. And cause here is said as ignorance. It is also called as Maya Shakti. It is also called as avidya. It is called potential condition. Many names are given to this sleep state. And it is this state, this ignorant state, which gives rise to this whole waking and dream, and it goes back again to the same causal form. This is the cycle of this entire cycle of life. And in the physical world, what we see in the physical world, we see a birth of a baby, and then again it grows, it matures, and then it leaves the body, again another body comes. So we don't see that it is one Karana Shariram, the Jiva. He's taking several births in several wombs. Only the parents, they are responsible only for the physical body, not the mind, not the Jiva. The Jiva has always been existing in different bodies. That is the cycle. That is the nature. That is the Prakriti, which our eyes are able to see. What we are not able to see is this causal body. And beyond the causal body, the Lord Krishna says that is what is called as Kṣetrajña. Beyond the causal body. That means we have to drop the three states and ask ourselves, who am I who is experiencing the three states? You will all get the same answer. I am the awareness consciousness principle. Body and mind is not there without me, the knower. That knower is called as the ultimate essence of the Jiva, who is knowing the body, mind, and intellect, and through this instrument called as this body, we perceive the world of objects. These 5 world of objects, they belong to the world. The sense organs belong to the body. The sense organs are interacting with the sense objects. That is the interaction which is seen by this Sakshi consciousness awareness principle. I claim that consciousness as my real nature, and I realize that I have always been free. Many aspects of this consciousness we are going to discuss from verse number 13 to 19 of this chapter. There it will be revealed the same consciousness which is called as Kṣetrajña. Here we will study it in a little bit more detail. We reap the results of actions which are done in the form of vasanas, impressions which are stored in the Karana Shariram, which I have explained to you now, in different births, repeated births. And what happens, every action leads to only joy or sorrow, sukham, dukkham. And this joy or sorrow is experienced through the three bodies. It's basically thus in dream also we have joy and sorrow. In waking also we have joy and sorrow. In sleep also we have either joy or sorrow, because we say we had a good sleep, or we had a so-so sleep, or we had a disturbed sleep. So it is only joy and sorrow being experienced in all the three bodies. But who is the experiencer? That ER, experiencer, the knower, that ER is what is the awareness. Without the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, 99.99% of the people will think that they are the body. That's all. Without this, before you come to the Bhagavad Gita, what was your own knowledge about yourself? It was the body, that's all. If you were slightly developed, you would say, oh, I think I also have a mind. And the mind looks like slightly different than the body. That's all. So nobody knows that this is the consciousness which is responsible for the entire experience which we have in this world. The principle of awareness, the knower of Kṣetram, is the Sakshi. Sakshi is not somewhere outside, it's not something, it is our own intrinsic nature. When I say intrinsic, means it is the nature, it is the Swarupam. It is me, myself. I cannot objectify consciousness and say that, I will be able to experience it like an object. Normally, our orientation is what? Our orientation is, I experience the world. But the experience the world means what? I experience it as an object of the sense organs. But here, we are not talking of an object, we are talking of the subject. Right now, when you're listening to this talk itself, ask the question, who is listening to this talk? If I ask the question, who is speaking? It is this consciousness is speaking through the mouth. It is this consciousness, it is by which you are listening, which is through your ears. It is one consciousness which is there in which all the interactions are taking place. That is the revelation of the 13th chapter. Before I go to the third verse, I want to go to the chart if possible. If I see, yeah, this Om chart. I had discussed the Om chart in Tattvabodha talks. This Om chart has been developed by Swami Chinmayananda and is being widely used all around the world to understand Vedanta. Very, very beautiful chart. It explains to us how the entire body is and how the whole individual is. I just take 5 minutes or just to explain this chart, because this chart will be useful to us to understand the third verse. Om means that consciousness, awareness principle. In this chapter, it is also called as Purusha or Kṣetrajña. So, very clear, Om means consciousness. It is also called in the Upanishads as Sat Chit Ananda Atma. These are all different words, but everything, it's also called as Brahman. It is also called as Ishvara. It is also called as God. It is called, you can call it by any name. Name is only a medium of communication of an object in the universe. If I say elephant, it refers to an object. If I say a mobile phone, it refers to an object. When I say Om, what does it refer to? Nothing in this creation except its consciousness, except the life principle behind the whole universe. That is called as Om. So it is a conscious, pure being which is referred as Om. So when you hear the word Om, you should refer to all the knowledge you have about this Om. The entire Brahma Vidya, which we are learning here in the Bhagavad Gita, one word expresses that. That is called as Om. When you have studied the meaning of Om and you know very clearly what this meaning of Om is through Mandukya Upanishad, then when you chant Om in your state of meditation, or you just sit down at any time, whether you're walking on the street, in your mind, if you chant Om, you already are with that pure being. The reason why you can take off to that higher being, which is called as the Paramarthika Satyam, the absolute state, is because of the knowledge. The knowledge comes only from the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads. So Om is the ultimate, which is being revealed in this 13th chapter. And who am I? When I'm looking at my body, the starting point is the causal body. The causal body is nothing else but V, which stands for vasanas. And just now we realize that this vasana is responsible for the physical body, the mind, and the intellect. So body, mind, and intellect are instruments of perception. Om stands for the knowledge principle. That knowledge principle, that pure being is only knowledge. I am. Full stop. Don't add anything after I am. That is called as Om. If you add anything after I am old, I am 50 years old, 30 years old, I'm sick, I'm not sick, I'm happy, not happy, all that refers to the body, mind instruments. So body, mind, and intellect are the pramanam. And they become pramata, the knower, when that consciousness principle gets added to the body, mind, and intellect. The pramata, the knower, that means now the original knower is the pure consciousness. Consciousness in the body is called as the pramata. The knower of the body is called as pramata. So that consciousness, when it is seen in the physical body, it perceives the objects. The perceiver is the jiva. The perceiver, feeler, thinker is the jiva, the ego principle, the knowing principle at the body level. The knowing principle exists beyond the body level as pure being. When it gets reflected in our waking state, the same pure being becomes the perceiver of the world. Through the mind, I have feelings of emotions. So the objects are perceived by the sense organs, which belongs to the body. I become a feeler of emotions. When I say I am sad, I am happy, it refers to the mind, the subtle body. The I refers to the mind. When I say I am having my birthday tomorrow, that I refers to the body. Then when I use the word I with reference to knowing something, I know something, I don't know Russian. I don't know Japanese, but I know English. I know Mandarin. That knowingness of the thoughts or of a language, or either you know or you don't know. Both are belonging to the intellect, the thoughts in the mind. If I have a knowledge about the object, I will say I know. Because suppose I know computer software, I know how to do programming, I can know how the mobile works, I know how the laptop works. Suppose I don't know the knowledge, that knowledge belongs to the intellect. And the intellect has got memory, it doesn't have memory. It has good memory, it has got no memory, it has got average memory. So it is, when you say I don't have memory, I don't remember. Many things I read, I listen, but I don't remember. That remembrance is a function of the intellect, which is an instrument. It is not you, it is not me, the consciousness. So never say in your own mind, when you should say it is I am that pure consciousness, but this body, mind, intellect, they all come and go. They come during the waking state, I'm aware of it. In the sleep state, I'm not aware of this body, neither the physical world. In the dream, what happens is there is another totally different world. So when I ask this question, who am I cannot get an answer unless and until I understand this chart of Om. Very beautiful chart. It tells me how to look at myself at an individual level. So the objects, emotions, and thoughts are called as prameyam. Prameyam means object. Subject, object, instrument. Subject is the pramata, karta, bhokta. Intellect is the one which becomes the karta. I am the doer of actions. At that time, when you say I'm reading this, so I'm doing this, I'm running, I'm jogging, I'm swimming. That time you're referring to the intellect, the doer. But beyond the doer, there is a consciousness. We have to learn to separate this consciousness from the instruments. And the Bhagavad Gita teaches us the process of how to differentiate between the mind and this consciousness. And how does it say? It says you go and analyze in your own mind what happens to me in my waking state, what happens to me in my dream state, what happens to me in the sleep state. And then you ask the question, what is this consciousness? It will get revealed to each one of us. This is the process of inquiry, which is beautifully presented in the Mandukya Upanishad. Very, very beautiful. When we learn the Bhagavad Gita, this is at one level. When we go to the Upanishads, we go deeper into this consciousness. When we go and study Vichara Sagara, a very, very high level of text, it goes much more deeper, much, much more deeper than the Upanishads also, because it analyzes. It's a very logical text which will help my intellect to do reasoning, better and better reasoning. So Karana Shariram is the power in the individual, and it's called as the Shakti. It has got the projecting power, that ignorance, whatever we call it. See, there are only words. Ignorance is just a word to express to us that state which we call it as the sleep state. The sleep state is also called as a potential state, and it is also called as Shakti. The entire transactions which happen during the waking state is this Vyavaharika state, and ultimately in all these transactions of the BMI as a PFT through the OET, what happens is you get joy and sorrow, Sukham and Dukkham. Whole life is explained in this chart. Throughout our life, we are only interacting with the world. BMI is the instrument. It interacts with the OET. And that is what we call it as life. This is the philosophy of life. And what is driving the whole thing is this pure consciousness, which is supreme consciousness, or called as Om. When you chant Om, remember this. It is the substratum of this whole creation. The whole creation is hanging on this Om. When you chant Om, the sound Om refers to the three states: waking, dream, and sleep. But the silence which comes after the sound Om represents the Nirguna, Nirakara Tattva, the pure consciousness, the pure being. Without that pure being, there is no universe. That is why they say that the whole world rises from this pure consciousness. It rests in this pure consciousness. It goes back into this pure consciousness. I am that pure consciousness. If your intellect can say without any doubt that I am that pure consciousness, then the study of Bhagavad Gita is over for you. The study of Upanishads is finished. Then you can just lead your life because you have that conviction, I am that pure being. And it is possible. There are thousands of people, millions of people who have realized this truth. And they have become Jivan Muktas. They have become free in their life. Free from what? Free from the notion that I am the body. Notion. It is a notion in the mind. It is only a thought. You drop the thought. You learn how to drop this thought that I am the body. That's all. By this knowledge of Atma, we learn. It's a process of learning. It's a cognitive process. Like you learn a language, like you learn yoga, you learn physics. This is also learning. So this chapter, Kṣetram and Kṣetrajña, is talking of this Om. Now we'll go to the third mantra, which is a Mahavaya. Mahavaya means it tells us the identity between me and the totality. This is the most important mantra among all the 701 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. It is a Mahavaya. It explains to me my real nature. Kṣetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarva kṣetreshu bharata. Kṣetrajñayo jnanam yattat jnanam matam ama. Know me as the knower of the field of all fields. In all the fields, there is only one knower. O Bharata. Bharata means Arjuna. So Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna that I, which you see before you as Lord Krishna, who was the charioteer before, now he is saying, I am the consciousness awareness principle. I am Brahman. When you talk about this consciousness without the universe, there is another term which is called, used by the scriptures, that is called as Brahman. When the same pure consciousness is seen in this body, it is called as the Jivatma. When the same pure being, Brahman, is seen in the world, whole cosmos, it is called as Param Atma. In the 15th chapter, we will see the difference between Brahman, Jivatma, Paramatma. Very beautiful section will come there. You must remember this particular verse so that you can link it to that verse of the 15th chapter. So here, Lord Krishna is not the physical Lord Krishna, it is the awareness principle who is talking here. It is like the pure being coming and teaching us today and telling us, oh Jiva, you think you are this body, but don't drop this idea that you are the body, you belong to me. You are the same as me, the pure being. Realize your nature and see that you are one with me. That is what is called as moksha. That is called as liberation. This is a liberating verse of the Bhagavad Gita. The knowledge of the field and the knower of the field is considered to be my knowledge. Why? Because I am the substratum. You see, it's a conscious being, the pure being. You call it God, you can call it by any name. That is trying to come and teach us in this verse. I am the knower of all the fields. You have a field of operation. I have a field of operation. Somebody in India has a different field of operation. In America, they have a different field of operation. Our waking states are at different timings. But the whole waking state is called as the Kṣetra. In this body, in each body, there is a mind which gives the necessary field of operation for that particular jiva on a particular day at a particular time. But there is a substratum that knowingness is only one. You may be in Japan, in Korea, in any part of the world, but the consciousness is one. Like the sun is one, which illumines the entire earth. Similarly, there is one awareness principle behind all the bodies. All the bodies means what? The gross body, subtle body, causal body. It is beyond all the three, but it is in and through the three bodies. This Mahavakyam, there are many ways to analyze this, many ways to express this, many ways of how to teach this. 1 + 1 is equal to 1. That is the equation of Mahavakya. This is an arithmetical language. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadhaya, Purnameva Vasishyate. We chant this at the end of every class. It refers to this pure consciousness. It says very clearly that this whole Jagat is coming from this pure consciousness. It goes back to this consciousness. This consciousness is infinite. When we say infinite, it is just a word in English. What it means is it is not finite. Everything else in the world is finite. You are finite, I am finite, the objects in the universe are finite. Finite means what? It is affected by time. It is seen in time, it goes out when the time is not there in sleep. Time principle is born when we are in the waking state. The time goes away when we are in the sleep state. What lies beyond time and timeless is this awareness. Timeless is also known to us. In the waking, we know, yes, there were a few hours when I went to sleep. It was timeless for me. I know that. But who knows this timeless principle is this consciousness. Everything in time is born of non-time, timeless. Everything in time is born out of timelessness. Without timelessness, time has no meaning. Consciousness is the substratum for time and space. The moment I know this awareness, consciousness, everything else becomes very clear to me. Kṣetrajñam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. You must all by heart this verse. It's a very beautiful verse. Even if you don't understand the meaning, doesn't matter. One day it'll give you the meaning and you will feel liberated. That's all. This verse is something which you can keep thinking about it. See, initially, all of us, when we listen to this for the first time, it doesn't strike us at all. But as we learn the Bhagavad Gita again and again, come back to these verses, the depth in which we understand these verses is very different. I know people who listen to the same verse the fifth time. There are some people who are listening to this I've taken Bhagavad Gita talks for last 6-7 years. So there are some people who are listening for the seventh time, the same verse. But today when they listen to it, I'm sure they all feel that there is a huge difference. Today I'm able to appreciate because I've been continuously listening to the scriptures. This repeated listening is called as nididhyasana. I go and listen again and again. Doesn't matter. Okay, listen again. Because ultimately it is this words which reveal to me the nature of consciousness. So Mahavaya of Gita, the climax of the Gita is in this verse. I am the self Kṣetrajña, the knower of the field in all the bodies. Very, very clear definition of what is consciousness. There is only one consciousness, awareness in all the bodies. Therefore, we can say that the whole world is nothing but one consciousness, that's all, which is functioning through different minds. When it functions through me, I may be a doctor. I see the medical world. My thoughts are all full of medicines, cures, and diseases, and so on. If I'm a lawyer, I'll be thinking about my field of law, how it can be applied, and I become an expert in that. If I'm a sportsman, I'll be thinking of jogging and swimming and Olympics and so on, and football matches and cricket matches. If I'm a yoga teacher, I will be thinking of asanas and pranayamas throughout my life. Different fields are there. If I'm a farmer, I'll be thinking about the next crop. See, so many varied fields. If I'm an astronomer, I'm a NASA scientist, I'll be thinking of how to put the man on the Mars. So there are different fields. But the consciousness behind each of the mind is the same, is the one consciousness. It is one consciousness which is experiencing. It is that one pure being. There is a pure being. It never can be negated. Never can you negate yourself. Never. You will always say, I exist, I exist, I exist. In sleep, I was existing. In waking, I am existing. In dream, I was existing. What is that existence? That existence is what is being revealed here. That pure existence, pure being. Once my intellect knows how to connect with this pure being, you will feel totally fulfilled in life. You will feel there's a tremendous amount of joy in me. I mean, it happens. It's you see it happens in people who are in the spiritual field. It happens in different fields because once this yoga union takes place between the jiva and that pure consciousness, this words cannot express that. No word can express that union. That is what people in the bhakti field also experience. Different ways they come, they reach the same pure being. You are me, I am you. That is what Bhagavan says in this verse. We are one and the same principle, the awareness, consciousness, Satchit, Ananda. Jiva without the upadhi is the same Ishvara without the upadhi of the world. This is a very simple equation, but let me explain to you what it means. This is the oneness equation. I, the jiva, the indweller in this body, without this body, the body is called as the medium. The mind is called as the medium, upadhi. Upahitam means the indweller. So this body, without the knower in this body, without the body, is the same as the knower of the whole universe, which we call it as Ishvara, without the upadhi of the world. And it is the same which we called it as Brahman or pure awareness. So nir-upadhi, that means without I, the indweller, without the body and the mind, am the same as the Lord without the body of the universe. And that is called as consciousness. That is called as Brahman. That is the revelation of this verse. One pure being called as Kṣetrajña, which is without any gunas or attributes, which is without any form, appears as the jiva and Ishvara. I call it with the name jiva when I refer to the pure being with this medium of body and mind. We are not talking about, we are talking in general about all the human beings. The same pure being, when I identify with the whole totality of all the human beings, is called as Ishvara. Because the whole world is what? Suppose you say all the human beings, they make up the world and they are experiencing the world. So the consciousness which is there, the awareness principle in all the beings is, suppose you call it with a name. So this one jiva plus the one totality, Ishvara, when you add this one and this one, It does not become two, it becomes one again, one nirguna nirakara Brahman. That is how you explain Purnamada, Purnamidam. Everything is Purnam. There is only Purnam here. There is only one pure being who is this entire universe. This is what is explained in all the Upanishads in different ways. This is the Mahavaya explanation. If you understand the jiva like a space in a room, you take the Ishvara as the total space in the entire cosmos. You remove all the upadhis. That means you break all the walls, all the bodies, everything you break. What happens to the total? It becomes one space. Actually, it was only one space. What differentiated that one space was only the medium of the body. That one space is the awareness principle, which we are all the same pure consciousness, pure being in our sleep state, but with this knowledge. There is no more ignorance about me. The ignorance is gone, is finished. I am now a liberated person. Why? Because I know this consciousness. This consciousness is my pure nature. This consciousness is me, my final, the core personality. So far, I've been thinking the body is me. No, this verse teaches me I am not the body. I am this pure consciousness. So this is the way Lord Krishna reveals the nature to Arjuna and says, you are this pure consciousness. Understand that you are this. You are not the body. The body and the other bodies are interacting. That is called as Prakriti. But this is Purusha. This is Kṣetrajña. This is the pure being. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarvabhutesha Stithaha Aham Adishcha Madhyamcha Bhutanamanta Evacha. In the 10th chapter, now I'm going to give you several verses where the same Atma, the same pure being has been revealed. I'm now connecting Bhagavad Gita, different chapters, where the same Atma, the 13th chapter, the 3rd verse, how it gets connected to the whole teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is in these verses. I will continue this next week because this is, connection. I mean, I can continue, but the time is up. So if you have any questions or what we have learned, because today's talk is a revelation talk in terms of who we are. If you go through this and if this consciousness is able to sink into your mind as the real me, then Bhagavad Gita has done its job. It has revealed who you are. I'm sure each one of you will understand the nature of consciousness more and more as we go deeper and dig this chapter further and further. There are 3 beautiful chapters, which if you have understood so far, whatever we have discussed, you will enjoy the next few classes, few sessions where we'll be going deeper and deeper into the same consciousness. But this is the foundation. The foundation is, if it is clear, everything becomes easy. So we'll start with this verse next time. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachade Purnasya Purnamathaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So if you have any questions, you can post in the chat box. Or Shanmugam will unmute you all now and you can ask your questions. Whatever questions you may have, it can be simple, it can be, if you have some doubts, you can, this is the time. Yeah, Ramkumar, do you want anything?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, Ramkumar. Yeah. Does anybody have a question?
Sir, Lakshmi.
Yeah, Lakshmi, go ahead.
Sir, I want to ask you something like, actually, when you go to space, no?
Yes.
This is something different, connected to this, but can I ask now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Actually, in international space stations and all, no, they show us the Earth and Sun. We can see those from here, no?
Yes.
Like in videos and all we used to see. So there, they doesn't have that east, south, north, and west, no?
Correct.
They have some directions like that in that area of space? Here, from looking from the Earth, we can we locate like east, sun rises in the east and sets in the west, no?
Yes.
But there actually it's like there is no direction, no, sir? Or is there any direction in there in space and all?
You see, it's a good question, but you see, what happens is that direction to us comes only because of the sun. So if
Okay,
the
sir.
sun is visible from those space stations, then they will have direction.
Okay, but actually,
if there is no sun, then there is no directions. Then they are all in one space, which is the same as consciousness.
That's
Only when the body comes in, you get direction. You see, that is, it's a very good example. So what you have also brought out is another topic, but it reveals that there is one consciousness principle without the medium. That means without the body, then there is, with all is only one awareness.
Okay, sir.
So similarly, your question is, okay, when you go to the moon, for example, let's not go too far away and say, let's go to the moon. If from the moon, you see, you are watching and you're watching the earth. Now what will happen is the sun gets reflected on the earth. So from the moon, you will be able to watch the earth.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Because it's material, you see, matter reflects light. Wherever the matter is, if the sunlight falls on it, it will get reflected.
Sir, okay, sir.
See, for us in this earth, we look at the moon and we make a mistake. We call it moonlight. It is not moonlight, but it is the light of the sun which is getting reflected in the moon.
Okay, okay.
So whenever we see this body, we think that we are the body, but we are not the body. We are the light of consciousness which is reflected in this body.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Do you have any other question?
Sekadi,
Bolo Babu.
in the earlier part, there was a question by Arjuna to Lord Krishna. What is the 6 technical terms in Vedanta?
Correct.
So what are the 6 terms?
The 6 terms is number 1, Kṣetram. Number 2, Kṣetrajña.
Kṣetrajña.
Number 3, Prakriti.
Prakriti.
Number 4, Purusha.
Purusha.
Number 5, Jnanam.
Jnanam.
Number
That means knowledge. Jnanam is knowledge, right?
Yeah, Jnanam is knowledge. Jneyam means what is the, okay, so that is, you are talking about 6 terms. The 6 terms are, once again I repeat, Kṣetram, Kṣetrajña, Prakriti, Purusha, Jnanam, and Jneyam.
Neyam. Neyam is what?
Neyam means consciousness.
Oh, Neyam. Consciousness now.
Yes. Neyam means consciousness. Purusha means consciousness.
Yeah.
If you are writing down under Purusha, you put C, consciousness.
Yeah.
Under Kṣetrajña, you put C, consciousness.
Oh,
Under Neyam, you put C for consciousness.
be consciousness.
So these three are referring to the same one consciousness.
Mm.
Under Prakriti, you put M, standing for matter.
Matter.
Then
Prakriti is
under,
matter.
yeah, and Kṣetram, you put M. We put is also M for matter.
Mm.
So what he is only talking about is teaching us only two things: matter, consciousness.
Mm.
And these matter
So-
and consciousness are expressed in 5 words.
Oh,
And the 6th word, jnanam, refers to the values. What are the values? If I develop, it will give me the knowledge.
mm.
Now is it clear, the 6 terms?
Mm, yeah. So matter is Prakriti, right?
Yes. Prakriti,
And,
under Prakriti, you put M for matter. Under Kṣetram, you put M for matter.
mm.
Both these are only matter. That means the body.
So Purusha is a spirit.
Yes, Purusha is the spirit. Kṣetrajña is also the spirit.
So Chaitanya is spirit.
Is it
Okay,
clear?
thank you.
The six, because the 6 words are very, very important throughout our study of this chapter.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Sekhaji.
Okay. Anybody else
Sir,
has a question?
Sir, Nyayam is also called as the knower or something. Can we say Nyayam as the knower?
All are called as the knower.
Okay,
Kṣetrajña
sir.
is the knower. Purusha
Uh-huh.
is the knower. Nyayam
Okay.
is the knower.
Okay, okay, sir.
You can call it consciousness. You can call it knower. So under Nyayam, you can put knower, K.
Okay, okay.
Under Kṣetrajña, you can put K, knower.
Okay, sir.
Under Purusha, you can put K as the knower.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
Anybody
thank you,
else?
Sekhaji.
Yeah. Can you ask again? I can't. Yes. Okay, good. Okay. See, this is a very, very important question for all of us. He's asking what is Vyavaharika and what is Paramarthika. These are 2 technical terms again used by Vedanta. Vyavaharika means the field of interaction. The field of interaction means the waking state, the dream state, where we are interacting with the sense objects. The sense objects in the waking state are different than the sense objects in the dream. But both are called as Vyavaharikam. In the sleep state, there is no Vyavahara, but it is taken as an ignorant state. It is, I don't know anything. But all the 3 states, beyond the 3 states, there is a knower. When I am identifying myself as the knower, that is called as Paramarthika. When I identify myself with the gross body, it is Vyavaharikam. When I identify with the subtle body in the dream state, it is Vyavaharikam. When I identify in the sleep state with the Karana Shariram, the causal body, it is still Vyavaharikam. The state in which I don't identify with any of the three bodies is called as avyavaharyam. Avyavaharyam is also another name of this Purusha. It is also given another name, Paramarthikam. So this Paramarthikam is an absolute state. It is the state of my own self. I am that. I am that. That absolute state is called as the Purusha, Kṣetrajña, or this Jnayam. Knowing this pure state of mind and claiming that is called as liberation, moksha. The more I learn about this Paramarthika Satyam, it is called as Satyam because it is the truth. Everything else is Mithya. Mithya means it is experienced, it appears, but it is false compared to the truth of Atma. This is how we should understand. The dream is an appearance. Everybody experiences the dream. The waking is an appearance, but we take it as a reality. What the Bhagavad Gita is teaching us now in the 13th chapter is that don't take this waking state as your true self. Don't take this as the reality. There is a higher reality which is called as Paramarthikam, which is called as this consciousness, which is this Purusha. By letting the mind getting this knowledge first I have to understand this Purusha. I have to understand this Kṣetrajña well. Exactly like Lord Krishna is teaching Arjuna, we should, when we learn these lines of the Bhagavad Gita, we should also learn the same thing. The same lines were learned by Shankaracharya. The same line were learned by all the gurus who taught the Bhagavad Gita when they were students. We are also students learning the same subject matter. This subject matter is not going to go away. It's going to be there for another 5,000 years. Because ultimately, this is the one subject which will never die, because it is the truth. It is the truth of you, it is the truth of me, it is the truth of everybody who's listening today. It is the truth. A truth is something which cannot be negated. That is why it is called as truth. Satyam. Everything else is mithya. We don't say it is non-existent. Non-existence in Sanskrit is called, there is another name which is called as tucham. Tucham means non-existent. Like, for example, I don't see flowers in the sky. I don't see horns for a human being. These are all non-existent. I don't experience a hot ice cream. These are all called as non-existence. Existence is consciousness. In between this non-existence and existent consciousness is all our experiences of waking, dream, and sleep. This waking, dream, and sleep, it is an experience. It is a creation by the Lord for a certain purpose of a jiva trying to realize his own nature. That is the purpose of the human birth. The moment we understand that this is the purpose of the human birth, I will go after this knowledge, learn this knowledge. To the best of my ability, I will try to understand and hold on to this truth as my true self. It is an individual effort. It is an individual fruit which is promised by the Lord. This is an individual basis. That means if I study, I get the benefit. You study, you get the benefit. You feel that you are no more, as you learn repeatedly, the mind changes. It is the mind which thinks I am the body. It is the same mind which has to change its pattern of thinking and say, no, this body will anyway come and go, but I am this eternal principle which Bhagavad Gita is teaching me. I hold on to the teaching. I have full faith in the teaching, and then I move on. Okay?
But Shikaji, is there any difference in sublet body and a casual body sleeping? The sleep into
The subtle body is the body which we experience while dreaming. See, we all experience the waking world. Right now, you are listening to me. This is called as the waking body. Physical body, it is called as a waker's body. In the subtle body is nothing else but the dreamer's body. Suppose you want to dream in the night today, whatever it is, maybe it is for 1.5 minutes you are dreaming. That time when you are dreaming, it is the dream body. Suppose you sleep for 4 hours in the night. You're sleeping, that body in which you sleep is called as the causal body. It is called as causal body because this is how Veda tries to explain to us how I can know this pure consciousness. In order to know that pure consciousness, the Veda tries to explain to us the 3 bodies. Through the 3 bodies, it tells us, drop your identification and realize that I am the pure being.
So there's a difference between the subtle and the casual body.
Yes, the causal body as well as the subtle body, there is a difference.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I hope you all have seen the advertisement. Bama, you have any question? Yeah, Bama.
Because both this Vyavarika and Mathematica transaction.
No, I'm trying to understand who is this? Is it
Ram Kumar.
Oh, Ram Kumar. Okay. I'm just trying to unmute Bhama first. She was asking something before you. 1 minute. Let me understand. Yeah, Bhama, can you talk now? I'm not able to hear you. Okay, you write to me. Write to me. Okay. Bhama, I'm not able to listen to you. Please send me a WhatsApp message. Yeah, Ram Kumar.
This Vyavarika
Yes.
and Mathematica are transaction. Both are transaction.
Yeah, both are in transactions, but you see, in Paramarthika, the transaction happen, and in Paramarthika, the transactions get dissolved. You see, that is what you should understand. We call it Paramarthika. At the same time, we say it is also Vyavaharikam. When we say it is Vyavaharikam, it means it is a reflection of that. It is a reflected consciousness in the mind which makes it Vyavaharikam. Suppose the reflection is not there, as in sleep. Then what happens? That Paramarthikam remains the same. It is always there. Suppose the mind goes away from this body, it leaves this body. Suppose the mind leaves this body, what happens is that Paramarthikam still remains as it is. That is my eternal nature. I am immortal. When I know that I am that pure being, that pure being is also available in the waking state as a reflection. Because of that pure being only, you are able to listen. It is the power behind the ears. It is the power behind the mind. It is the power behind all the sense organs. That is what is this consciousness. So, yeah. So those of you who want to learn to chant the Bhagavad Gita, you can participate next week. There is a class beginning. You can see the WhatsApp video, and then you can fill up the form, and we'll send you the details of that. Okay. Thank you, and good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Bye.